Hi everyone, welcome to Tech. Tech. Okay. So in this video, we're looking at from the textbook, the Cambridge IGCSE ICT textbook, and we're looking at the topic chapter 9, the third edition. We're looking at audiences. Yes, audiences, and we're looking at the audience appreciation. You know, this is actually a cool topic because it talks about more presenting, bringing your ideas into the use of your presentations, how you can present, get your target audience as much as possible, and put those how you can reach your audience to make it interactive or engaging. And we're going to be looking all of that right here in this video. Okay, starting now. Okay, so audience appreciation. When we look at audience appreciation, we're looking at planning and creating ICT solutions. In fact, when we are planning it, when we are creating the solutions, it is important to consider that the audience who will either use or take part in the solution, when we are presenting to our audience, we need to know the kind of people we are presenting to. So when we're planning, we're creating those ICT solutions, it is important to consider the audience that we're doing work that is going to be listening or either taking part in one way in our presentations. Okay. Now there are two different examples to show what could be meant by audience appreciation. Okay. Now number one is, in the first example, we're going to consider using presentation software to make a presentation for an audience. Okay. And in the second one example, we're going to consider the general audience requirement when we are developing a new website. It's very important. Of course, you need to note this, that both examples will follow very similar steps because the end result are very similar. It's so important that we need to talk about give these examples to talk about when we are using this presentation software to make a presentation just for an audience, or maybe you want to consider the requirements when we are developing just not just a website but a project as much as possible. It could be marketing or and whatever. Okay. Now we're looking at giving a presentation to an audience. Okay, giving a presentation on audience, right? It focuses at specific audience using presentation software. Okay, so in this example, the ICT solution is a presentation aimed at specific audience using this presentation software when writing a presentation. Of course, you will need to consider all the following factors, and this is so important that we need to consider all these following factors. Okay, so let's look at the first one is the age of the target group, right? It could be for young children. We have different appreciations and response compared to a more mature group of adults, for example. Okay, so the age of the target group. Okay, if you're giving a presentations to children, you need to know the content that needs to be there, and if you're giving it to a mature group of adults, you need to know also the content that's going to be there. The next one is the experiences of the audience. Okay, it's not just the age of the target group that you need to consider, but you also need to consider the experience of the audience. Remember, they need to have an experience. You're not just showing them what it can do, but they need to see the experience behind what you're showing them. For example, we see a board of company directors would expect a different approach compared to an audience composed of teenage school children. If it's teenage school children, you put some pictures that's very lighting. For board of company directors, obviously your presentation is going to be different because the experiences of the audience differ depending on the field and the maturity of the people of the audience that you are presenting to. Is so important, and that we need to know this. And I strongly believe this is going to guide you, not just as a student, but anyone watching this is actually going to guide you on how to make a PowerPoint. Okay, the next one is the expectations of the audience. We've talked about the age of the target group, we've talked about the experience, and now we're talking about the expectations of the audience. Okay, and if you're advertising or you're giving a presentation on a new restaurant, an older audience might expect to see fine wine or a good waiter service. Okay, you want to give a presentation about a new restaurant, that's what they want to see, right? Probably you're renovating to get a new restaurant, you're moving, and you want to make a presentation for people to donate. They want to see those things that make it. What are you? Why are you moving to a new restaurant? What are the things that a lot of things they expect? For example, it could be expansion. Business is good, and you want to expand. A lot of things that needs to be considered. Whereas a group of students might be more interested in pizza and fast encounter service. Now, for an older audience, they want to see fine wine. For students, obviously, of course, they don't take alcohol, so they want to look at maybe pizzas. They want to look at maybe the fast counter service. They want to look at just light food that you're bringing in into your restaurant. Okay. The next thing is the knowledge of the audience. We've talked about the age of the target group. We've talked about the experiences of the audience, and we talked about the expectations of the audience. Now we're talking about the knowledge of the audience. For example, graduates in math, okay, would be more comfortable seeing equations in a presentation than a group of history students. Okay, so it's all about the knowledge of the audience. Who are you presenting to? What are the capacity or the group of people that you are presenting to? If it's a math student, you can't be presenting history to them. They want to see the equations. They're more comfortable to see those equations right there on the slide. In the case of history, they want to see a lot of war, a lot of war about the Potsdam, the USSR, yeah, as much as about the Cold War in 1980 something, what happened between Germany, the Soviet Union, etc., etc., etc. They want to see all that. They want to see all that. But for the math students, they want to see, they want to see algebraic expression. They want to see simultaneous equation. They want to see a lot of things, right? They want to see quadratic equations. Yeah, a lot. Just they want to see equations, right? That makes them that gives captures the audience and gives them that knowledge, that knowledge base, or that they're actually flowing with you. Okay. Yes. The next thing we're going to talk about is characteristics of your audience. Okay, how can you find out the characteristics of your audience? Okay, and now the following are just some of the market technique you might employ to identify the characteristics of your target audience. So important. Okay, so let's talk about that. Okay, so we talk about interviewing a cross section of the target group. Okay, to find out how to engage the audience if it involves a major ICT solution. So interviews helps a lot, right? To know the characteristics of your audience, to know what you are expecting to present, and interviews are a great way to, to get a lot of feedback from the kind of audience you want to present to. And yeah, it involves a major ICT solutions. Then this may have to involve many of the techniques that were described in chapter 7. Now, what was described in chapter 7 is the system life cycle, and we talked about the analysis stage. And in the analysis stage, we talked about interviews, and we talked about the pros and cons of interviews, how people are able to open up and to go deeper about certain issues about the system, and that will help you to have an idea on presenting or putting more content in your presentations, in either creating talking about new software development, talking about a new restaurant, talking about a new website, etc., etc., etc. Okay, because the whole idea is you're presenting something for a target audience. Okay, and in the target audience, you need to know, they need to have an experience, they need to have an expectation, they need to have the knowledge. Because if you're presenting a business proposal to people who don't have idea on business, then it's not going to work. Okay, and we look at giving out questionnaires or online surveys to people in the target group. Now, if you check this, most time what Google does is they give out surveys. Okay, how has this experience been to you? The new interface, has it been? They want to get all these feedbacks so that they can be able to go back to present, to make a proposal, to maybe develop more and more and more and more and more. Remember, the end goal is money. Okay, and people want to see what they're paying for. Okay, so giving out questionnaires or online surveys to people in the target group to find out their background, okay, interests and so on, so that your solutions can be tailored to meet the full expectations, not half, full expectations of the audience. Very, very important. Okay, very, very important. Now, once you have data from your audience, you can then carry out some analysis of it, okay, to spot trends, draw some conclusions about them. The sophistication of data analysis would depend on how large the audience is likely to be. We're going to be talking about giving a sample presentation to an audience. Okay, now let's consider a phone company who markets a number of different mobile phones. Yes, the company has decided to produce two presentations. You're looking at using an ICT solution regarding the sales and future of four different mobile phones they market and sell. Now you need to look at one presentation is to be what given to the mobile phone sales team, okay, who will receive different bonus payment depending on the phone sold. Okay, because now they want to they market different mobile phones. Now, presentation on the sales team. If you sell this amount of phones, these are the bonuses that you're going to get. The second presentation is to be given to a potential group of mobile phone customers, people who are going to, yeah, okay, see, if you buy from us, this is why you should buy from, okay, this is why this is what makes our mobile phone so exceptional than every other people. People are killing themselves for iPhone. They're like, it's literally, if you don't have an iPhone, what then do you have? Like, literally, if you're not using an iPhone, like, what are you using? Like, literally, are you even in this century? Like, really? And also, that tells you how influential the iPhone market has been to the digital world, because obviously they have great sales in the digital market. Okay, yeah. Now, the next one is how would these two presentations differ? Now, these two presentations talking about this, how would they differ? Because the first group is we have, which is the sales team, is going to have a technical knowledge. Okay, right here, they are going to have a technical knowledge. It's very important. They're going to have a technical knowledge and will be interested in the profitability of each sale, because obviously they are marketers. They know, okay, if I sell in some numbers of phones, this is the amount I'm going to get. Then the hustle begins. Okay, and the second group, which are the end users, will only be interested in the price. Okay, for iPhones, I can buy an iPhone for like $20,000. Never. I can buy that. So obviously the price has to be something that end users are able to be interested in to get, right? And what are the features on the phone? People are killing themselves for iPhones because of the features it has compared to the Android market. Okay, the Android market is still selling. The Android market is still selling, but if you're comparing the Android market with the iOS market, the difference in sales is wild. Over here in Nigeria, you literally get you literally see the comparison between the two market is so at a different scale. The iOS market is selling like wildfire, but the Android devices as well is also selling, but everybody's just, like, literally you can get a quick sale if you're using iOS devices. So that tells you how much people are interested in not just the price but also in the features. Okay, now let's look at the key factors when writing the presentations. Okay, so what are the key factors when writing the presentation? We look at the language used. What language are you using to communicate to your audience? Is this something that they'll be able to understand? The next one will be the need for multimedias. The need for multimedia. Are they going to be a form of video, a display of videos? Is it going to be a form of, a form of design? That when people watch it, like, they're dazzled with it, like, wow, cool, this is nice. I'm liking the slides, I'm liking the progression. I'm like, they have that vibe, the vibe for it, and you're able to, it captures the attention of your audience. Okay, and then again, when you're writing a presentation, you have to look at the length of the presentation. You don't want the presentation to be too lengthy, because people get tired so easily. I've gotten complaint from my students like, sir, if it's possible to just break down the slides, just do it bit by bit. It's possible because you make it so long and so long and it's so long. Now those are feedback. It helps me to be able to break down my slide bit by bit, and that's what I did in ICT application. I was able to break it bit by bit so that it's easier for the student to just, you know what, let me just absorb this for today. Maybe tomorrow I go for this. Maybe next tomorrow I go for this. It's so important that we know this. Okay, the next one is the need for audience participation. An interactive approach. A presentation that is one-sided is boring, so boring. Okay, it needs to have a kind of an interactive approach when your audience are able to give you feedback. Okay, they're able to contribute, to talk about it, and to be part of the presentation. Okay, and of course the example used to illustrate certain points. These are key factors when you write your presentation. What are the examples you're going to use? What are the things you're going to use to cite those points of yours? Okay, remember, a presentation is based on points. It shouldn't be too wordy, but it should be based on points. Okay, all right. The next one we're going to talk about is now all what we have just said in summary. Okay, we've looked at the language use. Now, what are the language use? Okay, no vocabulary, no vulgar words or use of inappropriate language, since this can easily offend people. Don't use such words, okay? Because it can easily offend people, so don't use it. Okay, don't use it. Okay, the use of technical terms should be reserved for experienced or technical audience. Don't use words that can be easily confusing to people. Use simple words that an average audience can listen, except in cases where you're doing a presentation for a major audience. Okay, so we're doing a presentation for a major audience. Okay, now the use of sounds. Okay, video and animations, talking about multimedia use. So the use of sounds, video and animation will always catch the attention of the audience any day, anytime. Okay, the use of your sound, video, people are captured by anything that is moving, that animations. People, it gets boring when it's inanimate. Okay, it's just still, and it's not moving. It can really be boring. Okay, now it's also important not to overdo it in case the message gets hidden because of too many distractions in the presentation. Don't overdo it. Don't just play videos or play this, and that can make the context of the message to be hidden because of the distractions. Okay, a young audience is more likely to respond to loud music and embedded video clips. Okay, so you have to know this as well. Okay, complicated descriptions are often better explained using graphs or animations. So when there are complicated descriptions, it's better you use other things to explain it, and using the graphs or animations to explain it rather than just talking about it. Okay, people understand better when they see it. Okay, long presentations will only work if they are talking about the length of presentation. So long presentation will only work if they're interesting and engage the audience. Okay, if it doesn't engage the audience, it's not interesting, then it's going to be boring. Okay, another length of presentation we need to talk about is a very young audience would quickly get bored and start to become reckless. Okay, so if it's not something that's engaging, they become bored and they start to become reckless. I see that most time in my students. I try as much as possible to make it very interactive so that they can just flow with it and get it, because if it becomes too much, they're young teenagers, they can get bored. So it depends on your kind of audience. Now, for interactive presentation, we look at asking questions or getting the audience to try things is always a good strategy, okay, to make it interactive. So ask questions to the audience, get feedback from the audience, or maybe give them a task or something to ensure that they are being engaged. Okay, now, but always be aware that not everyone wants to take part. So you need to also have that not all your audience will want to be part of the interactive process. So you need to know that. Okay, and finally, example use. We're using example to illustrate ideas. Okay, remember to be understanding. Okay, don't refer to meat product if the audience is a vegetarian. So know the kind of examples you're using. Don't use examples that can be offensive or something that can just turn off people. You need to know, you need to have an understanding about that. Very, 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 very important that you do that. Okay, so I think these are samples to audience and key factors when we are writing the presentation. So we're going to end here, and in my next video we'll be looking at the part 2, which is the audience characteristics when we are developing a new ICT solution. Please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel for more amazing teaching on IGCSE ICT practical. Trust me, you're gonna love it. Bye.